The shotgun blast echoed through the cornfields like God's own thunder. But it was Grandpa Harlan's final breath that shattered Ryan's world forever. "You're no blood of mine," the old man had rasped in the hospital room just hours before. His eyes, once so full of that fierce Irish fire, now dulled by morphine and regret, locking onto Ryan's with a venom that cut deeper than any bullet. As the machines flatlined, Ryan stumbled out into the parking lot of St. Mary's in rural Iowa, the summer heat clinging to his skin like an accusation, wondering if the family he'd fought to love had ever been his at all. Rain started falling then, fat drops that blurred the taillights of his brother's trucks peeling out of the lot without a backward glance. Ethan and Caleb, the Golden twins, already divvying up the empire in their heads. Ryan collapsed against his beat-up Ford, fists pounding the hood until his knuckles split. The word faggot, still burning from Grandpa's lips like the cigarette he'd clutched in his gnarled hand. Disowned. Not just from the will, but from everything: the farm, the legacy, the lie of brotherhood. And in that moment, as lightning cracked the sky, Ryan swore he'd burn it all down before letting them bury him alive. Ryan drove through the night, the wipers slapping a frantic rhythm against the storm, his phone buzzing like a hornet's nest in the cup holder. Voicemails from his brothers, no doubt, Ethan's polished baritone laying out the funeral logistics, Caleb's gravelly drawl cracking jokes to lighten the load. But Ryan didn't listen. He couldn't. Not after the lawyer's call that afternoon. The one that confirmed what Grandpa's deathbed slur had foreshadowed. The Harlan estate, all 500 acres of prime Iowa black soil, the silos stuffed with soybeans, the antique John Deere collection worth more than most folks' houses. It all went to the twins. Ryan, cut out like a tumor. Personal reasons, the attorney had mumbled, voice thick with small-town discomfort. By dawn, he'd crossed into Illinois, the flatlands giving way to the gentle rolls of the prairie, his eyes gritty from tears he refused to acknowledge. He pulled into a diner off I-80, the kind with checkered floors and waitresses named Darlene who poured coffee like it was absolution. The place smelled of bacon grease and regret, and Ryan slid into a booth, staring at the laminated menu without seeing it. "You look like hell. Sugar," Darlene said, sliding a mug his way without asking. She was in her 50s, peroxide blonde with laugh lines etched deep, the name tag pinned crooked on her polyester uniform. Ryan managed a ghost of a smile. "Family funeral. Or anti-funeral. Take your pick." She nodded, no pity in her eyes, just the weary understanding of someone who'd seen 1,000 heartbreak breakfasts. "The works, then. Eggs over easy, hash browns scattered, smoked sausage. And pie later, if you stick around." He ate mechanically, the food turning to ash in his mouth, his mind replaying the hospital scene on loop. Grandpa Harlan, the patriarch who'd built the farm from Dust Bowl scraps into a dynasty, the man who'd taught Ryan to drive stick shift on those same back roads, who'd slipped him his first sip of bourbon under the stars and whispered stories of the old country. And then, when Ryan came out at 19, fresh off a semester at community college, heart pounding as he sat them all down in the kitchen, Harlan's face had twisted like he'd swallowed glass. "This ain't our way," he'd growled, storming out, leaving Ethan and Caleb to murmur awkward apologies that never quite landed. The twins had tried, in their way. Ethan, the strategist, always smoothing edges with his law degree from Des Moines U, promising Ryan could still work the land. As a hand, like he was some outsider begging scraps. Caleb, the hothead mechanic with grease under his nails and a laugh that could fill a barn, clapped him on the back too hard, saying, "Blood's blood. Grandpa'll come around." But he hadn't. Cancer ate him slow, and bitterness festered faster, until the will was inked with Ryan's name erased. A chime from the door pulled him back, the bell tinkling like a warning. In walked a guy who looked like he'd stepped out of a Springsteen song. Tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair tousled from the wind and a leather jacket slung over a faded flannel. He scanned the room, eyes landing on Ryan's booth with a flicker of something. Curiosity? Pity? He ordered black coffee to go, but lingered at the counter, thumbing through a newspaper. Darlene caught Ryan's stare and winked. "That's Anthony. Rides the freight lines out of Chicago. Comes through every couple weeks. Heartbreaker, that one, not 'cause he's mean, but 'cause he don't know he's got it." Ryan flushed, ducking his head, but not before Anthony glanced over, their eyes locking for a beat too long. A spark, maybe, or just the exhaustion playing tricks. Anthony nodded once, almost imperceptibly, then pushed out into the gray morning. Ryan paid up and hit the road again, the diner's neon sign fading in his rearview like a half-remembered dream. He aimed for Chicago big city, anonymous streets, a place to vanish until the funeral in 3 days. The twins could handle the eulogies. He'd show up for the dirt on the casket, nothing more. Chicago swallowed him whole by noon, the skyline a jagged promise against the lake's endless blue. He crashed at a cheap motel off Lake Shore Drive, the room smelling of mildew and takeout, the bed sagging under his weight. Sleep came in fits, haunted by Grandpa's rasp, the twins' voices echoing family first. By evening, he was wandering the magnificent mile, neon lights bleeding into puddles, the crowds a buffer against the ache in his chest. He ended up in a dive bar called the Rusty Anchor, all exposed brick and craft IPAs that tasted like regret. The jukebox crooned Tom Waits, gravel-voiced and world-weary, and Ryan nursed a whiskey at the end of the scarred oak bar, invisible until he wasn't. "Mind if I join?" The voice was low, laced with that Midwest drawl Illinois flatlands. "Maybe." Ryan looked up, and there he was, Anthony, jacket hooked on the stool back, a half-smile tugging at his lips like he knew a secret worth sharing. "Free country," Ryan muttered, but his pulse kicked up a notch. Anthony slid in, signaling the bartender for 2 more. "Saw you at the diner this morning. Looked like you could use a reset." Ryan barked a laugh, bitter and sharp. "Reset? Yeah, that's one word for it. Try eviscerated." Anthony didn't push, just sipped his drink, letting the silence stretch companionable. He was older, mid-30s maybe, with crow's feet from squinting at horizons and hands calloused from whatever freight he hauled. "Anthony Russo," he said finally, extending one. Ryan Harlan. The name felt foreign on his tongue now, stripped of its weight. They talked then, halting at first, whether the Bears' shitty season, the way Chicago's wind off the lake could cut like a knife. But whiskey loosens tongues, and soon Ryan was spilling. The triplets born under a harvest moon, Ethan the planner, Caleb the doer, Ryan the dreamer who'd always known he was different. The farm, the coming out, the cancer's slow march. And the will God, the will like a slap from beyond the grave. Anthony listened without flinching, his dark eyes steady. "That's some Old Testament bullshit. Your grandpa sounds like he carried more ghosts than sense." Ryan shrugged, the burn in his throat from booze or truth. He couldn't tell. "He was the king of our way or the highway. Guess I took the highway. By last call, They'd stumbled out into the night, the city humming around them like a living thing. Anthony walked him back to the motel, their shoulders brushing in the chill. At the door, Ryan hesitated, the air thick with unspoken want. "Thanks," he said, lame as hell. Anthony stepped closer, close enough Ryan could smell the leather and smoke on him. "If you're still breathing tomorrow, find me at the yards." Track 7, Dawn. "I'll buy the coffee." Ryan watched him go, melting into the shadows, heart hammering like it hadn't in years. For the first time since the hospital, the world felt a little less like a grave. The next 2 days blurred into a haze of aimless wandering, Navy Piers crowds, the Art Institute's quiet halls, street tacos from a truck that tasted like home but wasn't. Anthony texted once, a simple "you good?" and Ryan replied with a thumbs-up emoji, too raw to unpack more. But dawn on the third day found him at the rail yards, fog rolling off the tracks like dragon's breath, the air sharp with diesel and steel. Anthony was there, leaning against a chain-link fence, thermos in hand. "Thought you might bail." "Almost did." Ryan accepted the coffee, black and scalding. "Funerals today. Gotta play the prodigal son." Anthony nodded, no judgment. They walked the perimeter, the rattle of freight cars a distant lullaby. Anthony talked about his life. Drifting since his dad kicked him out at 17 for the same sin Ryan carried. Hopping trains from Philly to Seattle. Piecing together a living as a welder on the rails. "Freedom's a cold bed, but it's mine," he said, voice rough around the edges. Ryan envied that, the clean break. His phone buzzed, Ethan, demanding his ETA. "Family caravan leaves at noon. Black tie optional. Hypocrisy required." Anthony stopped, turning to face him. "You don't owe them shit, Ryan." "Not after that." The words landed like grace, and before Ryan could think, he closed the gap, pressing his mouth to Anthony's in a kiss that tasted of coffee and desperation. Anthony froze for a heartbeat, then hauled him in, hands fisting Ryan's shirt, the world narrowing to the heat between them. When they broke apart, gasping, Anthony's grin was wolfish. "That's one way to say goodbye." Ryan laughed, real this time, the sound echoing off the boxcars. "Not goodbye. Just intermission." He drove back to Iowa that afternoon, the kiss a talisman against the storm ahead. The funeral was a circus of khakis and casseroles, the church pews packed with neighbors who'd whispered about poor Harlan's boy for years. Ethan and Caleb flanked the front row, suits crisp, faces somber masks. They nodded at Ryan as he slipped in late, but their eyes held that wary distance, like he might contaminate the grief. The preacher droned on about legacy and hard work, Harlan's casket gleaming under stained glass like a fallen ark. Ryan tuned it out, mind on Anthony's calloused palm against his cheek, until the twins rose for their eulogies. Ethan spoke of duty, Caleb of dirt under nails and dawn harvests, tributes that painted Grandpa as saint, erasing the snarls and silences. Then it was Ryan's turn, the congregation's gaze heavy as he stood. His voice cracked at first, but steadied. "He taught me to mend fences," he said, "but forgot the ones that matter most." Murmurs rippled, Ethan's jaw tightening, but Ryan pressed on, words tumbling like floodwaters. Love as the real inheritance, not land or grudges. When he sat, the air hummed with unease, but something in him had cracked open, light seeping through. The graveside was worse, mud sucking at shoes, the hole yawning like judgment. As dirt hit wood, a lawyer approached, envelope in hand. For you, Mr. Harlan. From your grandfather. To be opened privately. Ryan's hands shook as he pocketed it, the twins exchanging glances that screamed conspiracy. He fled before the reception, tires spinning gravel, the envelope burning a hole in his glove box. Back in Chicago that night, Anthony waited at the motel with pizza and beer. No questions until Ryan broke, spilling the service, the speech, the mysterious missive. Open it, Anthony urged, sprawled on the bed like temptation incarnate. Ryan slit the seal, unfolding brittle paper. A letter, Grandpa's scrawl shaky but unmistakable. My boy, if you're reading this, I've gone the way of all flesh, and the ink's dried on sins I can't wash. The farms, there's Ethan and Caleb, the sons who'll carry the name without scandal. But you got my heart, the wild part one buried deep. Enclosed is the key to the attic trunk. What's inside's yours alone. Forgive an old fool who feared his own shadow more than he loved his blood. Burn bright, Ryan. For both of us. Tears blurred the words, and Ryan choked on a sob, Anthony pulling him close without a word. The key was there, cold iron promise, but the farm was hours away, and dawn couldn't come soon enough. The drive back to Iowa felt like penance, the highway unspooling under tires that hummed a dirge. Anthony rode shotgun this time, his presence a steady anchor in the cab's confines. Boots propped on the dash, one hand absently tracing the seam of his jeans. Ryan had asked him to come, half joking at first, but Anthony's hell yeah had sealed it, no hesitation. Road trips fix everything, he'd said, packing a duffel with the ease of a man who'd never unpacked his life. They talked in fits and starts, the letters wait between them like an uninvited passenger. Think it's money? Anthony ventured, peering at the key dangling from the rearview. Ryan shook his head. Nah. Grandpa wasn't sentimental like that. If it was cash, it'd be in the will, lawyers and all. He paused, fingers tight on the wheel. More likely a guilt trip. Some Bible verse about Sodom to hammer it home. Anthony's laugh was low, rumbling. Or maybe it's the deed to the outhouse. Prime real estate. The levity helped, easing the knot in Ryan's gut. But as the farm silos pierced the horizon, silver sentinels against a bruised sky, the humor faded. The Harlan spread sprawled like a kingdom in miniature. 500 acres of furrowed earth. The big house with its wraparound porch sagging under Virginia creeper. Outbuildings hunkered like faithful hounds. Ryan's childhood, once a playground of haylofts and creek swims, now loomed accusatory. He killed the engine at the gate, dust settling in lazy swirls. Twins are probably inside, toasting their windfall. Anthony squeezed his thigh, grounding. You want backup? Ryan nodded, throat tight. Yeah. But if it gets ugly, we bail. Your call. They crunched up the gravel drive, the screen door banging open before they hit the porch. Ethan emerged first, sleeves rolled on his button-down, a beer sweating in his fist. What they thought you were Chicago-bound for good. Caleb followed, wiping hands on a rag, his bulk filling the frame. Who's the muscle? His grin was forced, eyes flicking to Anthony with farm boy suspicion. Anthony, Ryan said, chin up. Friend. We're here for the attic. Ethan's brow furrowed. Attic? What the hell's that mean? Ryan held up the letter, letting the breeze flap it like a white flag. Grandpa's last word. Key to a trunk. My name on it. The twins exchanged a look. Wary, then calculating. Caleb shrugged. Attic's yours. Stairs off the hall. Just don't track mud. Inside, the house smelled of lemon polish and ghosts. Grandma's quilts folded neat on the couch. Grandpa's pipe rack on the mantel gathering dust. Ryan led the way up the creaky oak stairs. Anthony's boots soft behind him, the twins trailing like reluctant shadows. The attic door stuck, as always, but the key turned smooth in the trunk's antique lock, a brass thing etched with thistles. The lid groaned open on hinges that whispered secrets. Inside, not gold or ledgers, but layers of yellowed paper, letters tied in twine, a stack of photographs curled at the edges, a leather journal fat with pages. And at the bottom, a small wooden box, carved initials HM. On the lid, Ryan's breath hitched. Harlan McCaffrey, Grandpa's full name, but he'd never seen that mark. Jackpot, Caleb joked, but his voice was thin. Anthony knelt beside Ryan, sifting gently. These letters. Addressed to someone named Eamon. Your grandpa's handwriting. Ryan nodded, unfolding one. The ink faded but fierce. My dearest D, it began. The fields ache without you. Last night, under the moon, I swore I'd cross the ocean again. Damn the tongues. Your touch lingers like whiskey on my lips. The words died on Ryan's tongue, heat flooding his face. Holy shit, Ethan snatched it, scanning, color draining. This is bullshit. Grandpa was married to Gran for 50 years. Caleb grabbed another, voice pitching high. Eamon O'Connor, Dublin, 1947. Who the fuck? His lover, Ryan whispered, the pieces slotting cruel. Grandpa, the firebrand who'd railed against deviance at every supper, who'd disowned Ryan for the same sin he'd buried under decades of denial. The journal confirmed it. Pages of fevered prose, sketches of a young man's face, sharp jaw, laughing eyes, interspersed with pressed wildflowers and train ticket stubs from post-war Europe. Anthony's hand on his shoulder was steady. He was like you, hiding it to survive. The twins reeled, Ethan pacing, Caleb sinking onto a rafter beam. Why us? Why the farm to straight sons? If, because he could, Ryan snapped, anger surging like bile. He chose the lie over love, every time. Disowned me to protect his ghost. The box held more, a gold signet ring, engraved forever, E, and a photo, two soldiers in 45 fatigues, arms slung casual, but their eyes said everything. Grandpa, barely 20, grinning at a redhead with Eamon's features. Betrayal twisted fresh, not just from the will, but from the hypocrisy. Ryan slammed the trunk, the echo booming. This changes nothing. You got the land. Enjoy your inheritance of shame. Wait. Ethan started, but Caleb cut in, face crumpling. We didn't know. Christ. If you knew enough to stay silent. Ryan stormed down, Anthony at his heels, the attic light a receding glow. Outside, in the truck, Ryan gripped the wheel white-knuckled, tears hot on his cheeks. Anthony waited, patient as the prairie wind. Pull over, he said finally, soft. They did, at the creek bend where Ryan and the twins had skipped stones as kids. Ryan killed the engine, burying his face in Anthony's chest, sobs racking him silent and deep. Anthony held him, murmuring nonsense into his hair. "It's okay. I've got you." Until the storm passed. Back on the road to Chicago, the sun dipped low, painting the cab gold. "What now?" Anthony asked, thumb stroking Ryan's knee. Ryan exhaled, the journal heavy in his lap. "I mail it back. Let them choke on the truth. And I live mine. No more hiding." Anthony's smile was slow, warm. "Sounds like a plan. But first, dinner. My treat, deep dish at Giordano's. Then we figure the rest." That night, in Anthony's cramped apartment above a laundromat, railroad lanterns and faded maps on the walls, they made love for the first time, slow and deliberate, bodies mapping forgiveness in the dark. Ryan traced the scars on Anthony's ribs, bar fights, boxcar falls, and whispered thanks against his skin. It wasn't fireworks, but embers, steady and sustaining. The next week blurred into routine. Ryan crashing at Anthony's, job hunting between rail shifts. He found work at a bookstore in Wicker Park, shelving queer lit and Midwestern histories, the irony not lost. Letters from the twins piled up, apologies scrawled hasty, offers to make it right with a buyout check. Ryan burned them in the sink, ashes swirling down the drain like absolved sins. But the past clawed back. One rainy Tuesday, Ethan showed on the doorstep, suit rumpled, eyes red-rimmed. "We sold the North 40. Thought you should know, proceeds split 3 ways." Ryan blocked the door, Anthony hovering in the kitchen. "Why?" "Because it's blood money now. That trunk gutted us. Caleb's drinking again, seeing ghosts in the combine. We fucked up, staying quiet." Ryan's resolve cracked, just a hair. "Grandpa did the fucking up. You just inherited it." Ethan nodded, handing over an envelope, thick, legal. "Deed amendment. Your third. No strings." He left without another word, taillights fading into the downpour. Ryan stared at the paper, pulse thundering. Ownership, not just land, but choice. Anthony wrapped arms around him from behind. "Take it." Ryan turned, kissing him fierce. "Yeah, but on my terms. Urban farm co-op, maybe. Queer kids from the sticks. Learning to grow without shame." Anthony chuckled. "Revolutionary. I like it." Months spun forward, seasons shifting like chapters. Ryan and Anthony built a rhythm. Mornings tangled in sheets, evenings on the fire escape with takeout and tales. Anthony taught him to weld, sparks flying like stars. Ryan read him poetry from the journal, Eamon's echoes bridging ghosts. But conflict brewed slow, a storm on the horizon. Caleb called one crisp fall night, voice slurred. "Need you, bro. Harlan's are falling apart." Ryan drove back alone. Anthony's "Be safe," a talisman in his pocket. The farm was a husk, fields fallow, house echoing. Caleb waited on the porch, bottle in hand, face hollowed by loss. Ethan's in rehab. Turns out the Golden Boy's got his own secrets. Pills, to keep the perfect mask on. Ryan sat beside him, the swing creaking under their weight. "Why'd you call?" "'Cause you're the strong one. Always were." We disowned ourselves, chasing his ghost. They talked till dawn. Words like balm on old wounds. Admissions of envy for Ryan's courage. Regrets for the silences. By sunrise, Caleb was sober enough to hug him, clumsy and real. "Come back. Help fix it." Ryan did. Weekends at first. Anthony tagging along with his welder's torch to mend silos. The twins thawed. Ethan emerging from haze with apologies that stuck. They planted together. Rows of corn and community. Inviting locals. Outcasts. Anyone hungry for roots. Yet the romance deepened in stolen moments. Anthony pulling Ryan into the hayloft for kisses that tasted of earth. Or slow dances in the kitchen to Johnny Cash on vinyl. "You're my horizon," Anthony murmured once, forehead to forehead, and Ryan believed it. Winter hit hard, snow blanketing the fields like forgiveness. On Christmas Eve, understrung lights in the big house, reclaimed as neutral ground, Ryan gathered them all, twins, Anthony, even a few co-op kids. He read from the journal, Eamon's words weaving through the room like incense. No gasps this time, just nods, tears. Later, in bed, Anthony traced Ryan's triplet tattoo, a simple 3-bar code on his wrist. "Proud of you," Ryan smiled, pulling him close. "Us." But dawn brought the call. A lawyer again, voice grave. Contested will. Distant cousin, Harlan McCaffrey's nephew from Boston. Claims the trunk proves fraud. Wants the whole estate nullified. The blow landed like Grandpa's shotgun blast. Echoes of disowning rippling fresh. Cousin? Some shadow kin clawing from the grave's edge. Ryan's world tilted, the fragile piece fracturing. "They'll take it all," he whispered to Anthony, staring at frost-laced windows. "Not if we fight." Anthony's jaw set, fire in his eyes. "This is your legacy now, ours." The battle lines drew, lawyers in Des Moines, depositions dredging dirt, Grandpa's hidden life splashed in tabloids, Iowa patriarch's gay secret shocks kin. The twins rallied, Ethan lawyering pro bono, Caleb testifying raw. Ryan faced the cousin in court, a slick weasel in pinstripes sneering. Perverted inheritance? The old man was deranged. Anthony sat beside him, hand under the table, anchor in the gale. "Truth's your weapon," he whispered. And it was witnesses from the co-op, letters authenticated, the journal's pages a testament to love's endurance. The judge ruled for the Harlans, estate intact, but the toll carved deep. Caleb relapsed once. Ethan shuddered. Ryan sleepless with what-ifs. In the aftermath, under a blood moon over the fields, Ryan and Anthony walked the rows, boots crunching frost. "Worth it?" Anthony asked, breath clouding. Ryan stopped, cupping his face. "Every scar. Because it led here." They kissed then, fierce and claiming, the farm a witness to redemption. Spring thawed the ground but not the rifts. The co-op bloomed, green shoots piercing soil like hope's fingers. But Ryan's dreams soured with visions of courtrooms, the cousin's sneer morphing into Grandpa's deathbed glare. Anthony noticed, of course, the way Ryan flinched at shadows, how his laugh came shorter these days. "You're carrying the whole damn dynasty," Anthony said one evening, as they knelt in the community plot, hands black with loam. Kids from the program, runaways mostly, faces sharp with street smarts, huddled nearby, planting heirloom tomatoes under Caleb's gruff guidance. Ryan wiped sweat from his brow, forcing a grin. "Says the man who welds boxcars like they're sculptures." Anthony's eyes softened, but worry lingered. "I'm serious. Talk to me." That night, over beers on the porch, Ethan inside prepping depositions for a follow-up claim. The air thick with peony bloom, Ryan cracked. "It's not the land." What if he was right? Disowning me, What if loving like this just invites the wolves? Anthony set his bottle down. Deliberate. Wolves come anyway. Hiding just starves you first. The words echoed Eamon's journal. A line Ryan had underlined. Love's the blade that cuts deepest, but heals truest. He leaned into Anthony, the familiar bulk chasing ghosts. But sleep evaded, and by morning, Anthony was gone. Note on the counter, freight run to Omaha. Back in 3. Love you. Fight dirty. The absence hit like withdrawal. The house too quiet without his rumble. Ryan threw into work, tilling fields till his back screamed, mentoring the kids with stories of his own drift years, community college dropout, barista gigs in Des Moines, hookups that left him hollow. One boy, Jamie, 17 and fresh from a foster shuffle, latched on. How'd you know that you're? You know, Ryan paused. Oh, mid-swing. Felt it in my bones. Like the earth's pull, but for a person. He thought of Anthony's laugh. Rare and rich, and amended. For the right person. Caleb overheard, clapping Ryan's shoulder later. Ethan's got a lead on the cousin. Guy's a con. Fake ties to Eamon for leverage. We bury him legal. Gratitude swelled, tangled with old hurts. Why fight so hard now, after everything? Caleb's gaze dropped to his boots. 'Cause you're the heart. We cut you out, thought it made us whole. Turns out, it just bled us dry. The admission bridged something, and they hugged. Awkward, backslapping, but real. Ethan joined later. 3 triplets under the kitchen light, divvying chores like kids again. No mention of the will, just plans. Expand the co-op, solar panels on the barn, pride flag fluttering defiant. Anthony returned dusty and road-worn, duffel slung, pulling Ryan into a kiss that tasted of miles and missing. Missed this, he growled, hands roaming. They tumbled to the guest room. Big house had plenty bodies urgent, reclaiming space. Afterward, sated and sweat slick, Anthony propped on elbow. Got something. In Omaha, hit a yard sale old rail junk. Found this. He fished a tarnished locket from his pocket, opening to a faded photo, 2 men, arms linked, smiles sly. Ryan's breath caught. Eamon? Think so. Seller said lovers from the war, passed down wrong lines. For you, tears pricked, and Ryan fastened it around his neck, the weight a talisman. You're my gift. You know that. Anthony's grin turned wicked. Prove it. They did. Laughter mingling with moans. The night a bomb. But summer stormed in vengeful, heat waves wilting crops, the cousins' appeal dragging like chains. Tabloids sniffed blood. Triplet feud. Gay secret sinks family fortune? Reporters camped the gate, snapping the co-op kids mid-plant, twisting sanctuary into scandal. Ryan fielded calls from donors pulling out, voices oily with concern. Not ready for the optics. Jamie bolted one night. Note scrawled, sorry. Can't be your poster boy. Ryan searched till dawn, finding him at the bus station, duffel clutched like armor. You run. They win, Ryan said, sliding beside him on the bench. Jamie sniffed, defiant. Easy for you. You've got him. Nod to Anthony, waiting in the truck. Ryan nodded. Had to fight for it. Still do. Come back. We'll fight together. The kid did. And the co-op hardened. Fences mended. Signs up. Private property. Love grows here. Anthony welded gates reinforced. his presence a shield. Yet doubt festered in quiet hours. One sweltering August eve, after chasing a fox from the henhouse, Ryan found Anthony on the porch swing, staring at the fields like they mocked him. "Penny," Ryan teased, dropping beside. Anthony's jaw worked. "This life's tying you down. Farm. Family. I'm the drifter crashing the party." The words gutted, sharper than any court ruling. "What? No. Yeah. You glow here, building shit that lasts. Me? I'm boxcars and goodbyes. Been thinking. Maybe I head west. Give you space." Panic clawed Ryan's throat. "Space? That's code for running. Don't do this." Anthony's eyes were stormy. "Not running. Loving you enough to not drag you under." They argued then, voices rising like thunder. Ryan accusing abandonment, Anthony fear of roots. Peaked with shouts. Ryan storming inside, slamming the door on Anthony's. "I need air." He paced the kitchen, heart hammering, the locket burning against his chest. Betrayal stung fresh, not like the twins' silence, but intimate, a fracture in the one solid thing. Hours ticked, crickets mocking, until headlights swept the drive. Anthony stood in the doorway, rain-soaked, face-etched regret. "I'm an idiot." Ryan crossed arms. "Stealing." "Prove it." Anthony did, dropping to knees, not in plea but purpose, hands framing Ryan's hips. "I love you." Scary as hell, but true. "Stay." Roots and rails. Whatever. Tears mixed with rain as Ryan hauled him up. Kiss salt and surrender. They stripped in the hall, urgent against the wall, then slower in bed, bodies affirming vows unspoken. Dawn found them tangled. Anthony's whisper, "Partners." In all of it, the co-op thrived despite the siege. Harvest Festival drawing crowds. Queers from Chicago caravanning out. Tents dotting the back 40. Caleb barbecued ribs smoked low. Ethan emceed with charm renewed. Ryan and Anthony danced under strings of bulbs. Jamie DJing indie folk. But the appeal hearing loomed. Des Moines Courthouse a coliseum. The cousin arrived with fanfare, flanked by suits, smirking like he'd won. Fraud from a fraud. He spat in the hall, eyeing the locket visible at Ryan's collar. Anthony tensed beside him, but Ryan squeezed his hand. Let truth bite. Inside, testimonies flew. Co-op families vouching resilience. A historian decoding Eamon's letters as authentic wartime queer archive. The cousins' counsel twisted. Delusional patriarch. Illegitimate claims but faltered when Ethan produced DNA. The man a grifter. No McCaffrey blood. The judge's gavel fell like grace. Appeal denied. Sanctions on the liar. Cheers erupted. Twins bear-hugging Ryan. Anthony's kiss fierce amid the chaos. Outside, confetti rain. Improvised by Jamie's confetti cannon. The group spilling into celebration. Beers clinked. Fires crackled. Stories swapped till stars wheeled. Later, alone by the creek, Anthony pulled Ryan close. We did it. Ryan smiled, locket glinting. He did. Grandpa. In the end, summer waned golden, but whispers of deeper conflict stirred. Ethan confessed over coffee one crisp morn, seeing someone. Man from the firm. Scared shitless, Ryan clapped his back. Welcome to the club, bro. Caleb nodded, quiet. Me too. Bar in Ames. Nothing serious, but yeah, the revelation bonded them tighter. Triplets no longer fractured by secrets. Anthony joked. Harlan gaypocalypse, but his eyes shone pride. Yet romance simmered hotter in the afterglow. Anthony and Ryan stealing barn lofts for trysts, bodies slick with sweat and soil, love a rebellion against the years lost. Forever starts now, Anthony gasped once, buried deep, and Ryan believed, arching into promise. Fall painted leaves fire, harvest yielding bounty. The co-op's first market stand in Iowa City buzzed, jams and pies flying, pride pins glinting on aprons. Reporters came kinder now, profiles in the Gazette, from Disowned to Dawn, triplets reclaim queer roots. Ryan scanned one, photo capturing him and Anthony mid-laugh, arms slung easy. Pride swelled, but so did caution, fame's edge sharp. Winter's cusp brought the gift's full reveal. In the trunk, overlooked amid drama, a codicil handwritten, witnessed late. Grandpa's bequest, not just truth, but a trust fund, modest but steady, for the son who dared love free. Ryan's name, inked bold. He showed Anthony by lamplight, tears anew. He saw me. Anthony kissed his temple. Always did. The year turned, snow blanketing sins, and Ryan stood taller, farmer, lover, legacy unbroken. New Year's dawned brittle, the farm iced in crystal, but resolve burned warmer. The trust, 50 grand, invested wise, seeded expansions. Greenhouse for winter greens, scholarships for co-op kids like Jamie, now apprenticing under Anthony's torch. Ryan funneled it deliberate, each check a fuck you to the grave's grudges. Anthony thrived in the rhythm, his rail runs cut to weekends, welding sculptures from scrap for the co-op's entryway. A tangle of rails forming two intertwined figures, abstract but unmistakable. Us, he said at the unveiling, paint still wet, crowd murmuring approval. The twins integrated deeper, Ethan, out to the firm, partnering with his colleague Mark. Sharp-witted and steady, weekends at the farm blurring professional lines. Caleb dated casual, a trucker from Cedar Rapids with tattoos and tenderness, finding footing in vulnerability. Family dinners revived, big table groaning under pot roast and pie, laughter filling voids. Stories flowed. Grandpa's war yarns retold with Eamon's shadow kindly. The journal passed like scripture. To hidden loves, Ethan toasted once, glasses clinking, and Ryan felt the fracture mend, scar tissue strong. But drama simmered external. A rival farmer, old Harlan foe named Tate, sniffed weakness in the freak show co-op, petitioning zoning boards to shutter it. Ain't farming if it's a circus, he blustered at hearings, face ruddy with ale and animus. Ryan testified calm, slides of yields and testimonials rolling. We're feeding folks, literally. What's your beef? Tate? Change. The board ruled in favor, but Tate's glare promised sabotage, fences cut, equipment tampered. Anthony caught it first, midnight alert barking at the barn. Bastard's crew, he growled, surveying slashed tires on the John Deere. Ryan's fury ignited. We pressed charges. Ethan lawyered it airtight. Caleb patrolled with shotgun, non-lethal, but loaded, and the co-op armed with cameras. Unity a bulwark. One dawn raid. Jamie spotted Tate's boys, alerting all. They arrived en masse, flashlights blazing, voices unified. This land's ours. Tate backed down, charges sticking, but the scare etched wariness. Nights, Ryan woke sweating, Anthony's arms tightening instinctive. We're solid, he'd murmur, lips to nape. No one's taking this. Intimacy deepened in the tension. Sex a release valve. Urgent in the cab of the truck after patrols. Tender in the loft with blankets and stars. Anthony introduced toys one night. A prostate vibe humming low. Ryan's gasps echoing as Anthony coaxed. Let go. Love. Vulnerability peaked. Tears mingling with climax. Trust rebuilt brick by brick. Spring greened again. Co-op bursting. CSA boxes shipping city ward. Workshops on queer history drawing crowds. Ryan guest spoke at a Des Moines Pride event. Journal excerpts woven in. Audience rapt. Anthony watched from the wings. Pride swelling his chest. Post-talk. A fan approached, older man. Silver-haired. Irish lilt faint. Eamon O'Connor. That name. My uncle. Ryan froze. Locket clutched. I fought beside Harlan in the 101st. Never knew the full tale till your words. He pressed a photo into Ryan's hand. Eamon and Harlan. Normandy 44. Grins amid mud. He'd be proud of you. The gift chained to the locket. A full circle. And Ryan wept in Anthony's arms later. Grief and joy indivisible. Summer swelled triumphant. Tate's shadow faded. Co-op's rep solid. The twins announced expansions. Ethan and Mark adopting. Caleb proposing to his trucker over ribs. Ryan beamed. But his own future whispered. Anthony's 30th looming. Talks of permanence dancing unspoken. One harvest moon eve. Bonfire crackling. Co-op folk scattered in revelry. Anthony pulled Ryan aside to the creek. Fireflies danced. Water gurgling soft. Been thinking, Anthony started. Voice gravel rough. Rails are in my blood. But you're my home. Ryan's heart stuttered. What are you saying? Anthony knelt. Not with ring but a rail spike. Hammered into a band. Etched forever. Like them. Marry me? Here. The farm. Vegas, your call. Tears blurred. Ryan hauling him up. Yes. God. Yes. The kiss sealed it. Whoops from the fire signaling they'd been watched. Celebration erupted. Jamie popping corks. Caleb bear-hugging Anthony till ribs creaked. Wedding planning wove joy with chaos. Small. They decided. Farm ceremony. Co-op as family. But conflict crested unexpected. Grandma's old Bible. Willed to Ethan. Unearthed in the attic with marginalia. Harlan scrawls. Forgive me. Love. For the cage. Ethan found it cleaning. Sharing tearful over whiskey. It humanizes him, Ethan said. The bastard we loved. Ryan nodded. Softening. We'll read from it. His words. Reclaimed. Fall frosted the air. Ceremony set for equinox. Guests trickled. Anthony's rail buddies. Mark's firm. Co-op kin. Vows under the oak Grandpa planted. Ryan's. You mended what I thought broken. Anthony's. I'll ride every mile with you. Rings exchanged, spike bands simple, the kiss drew cheers. Confetti of corn husks swirling. Honeymoon was the farm itself. Week holed up. World locked out. Bodies and souls entwined. Husband. Ryan tested. Grinning. Anthony's response a growl and tumble. Winter whispered peace. But by Kitch loomed subtle. Anthony's doc visit. Routine check flagging fatigue. Nothing. He waved off. But Ryan pressed. Blood work ordered. Results hit like frost. Early lymphoma. Caught soon. Treatable. Anthony's face ashen in the kitchen. Ryan's world narrowing to his hand. Clasped tight. We fight, Ryan echoed, voice steel. Like always. Chemo started gentle, infusions in Iowa City. Anthony stoic but fraying. Ryan juggled co-op. Twins pitching in, Ethan driving. Caleb cooking. Jamie stocking the fridge with shakes. Nights were hardest. Anthony nauseous. Ryan holding hair. Whispering Eamon's lines. Endure. My heart, the dawn follows dark. Remission came spring. Scans clean. But the scare scarred Anthony quieter. Clinging tighter. Thought I'd leave you the ruins, he confessed once, voice muffled in Ryan's chest. Never, Ryan vowed. We're the build. Summer healed. Co-op's third-year banner. Fundraiser gala under tents. Toasts to survivors. Anthony danced slow with Ryan. Chemo weight shed. Stronger. Yet the human vein pulsed. Letters from strangers. Touched by their story, you gave me courage to come out. Ryan archived them with the journal. Legacy living. Fall's harvest yielded record. Wedding anniversary under stars. Picnic by the creek. Locket and rings glinting. More? Anthony asked. Hand on Ryan's belly. Half jest. Ryan laughed. Surrogate. Maybe. Triplet legacy needs extending. Anthony's eyes lit. Yeah. Winter blanketed gentle. Chemo a memory. Love the constant. The farm stood testament. Fields fed. Family forged. Hearts unbowed. The surrogate search unfolded like spring. Hopeful. Tentative. Profiles sifted over wine with the twins. Ethan and Mark's adoption finalized. A toddler named Liam toddling at dinners. Caleb's wedding to Dex a barn bash. Vows gravelly and true. Ryan and Anthony chose Lena, a teacher from Dubuque. Her laugh bright, terms clear, open, loving. Pregnancy news hit summer solstice. Ultrasound wand tracing miracle. 2, the text said, and Ryan's laugh bubbled shock. Twins. Anthony gripped his hand, eyes wet. Karma's got jokes. The co-op adapted nursery in the big house. Volunteers swelling. Jamie, now 18, deferred college for farm lead. His coming out story a workshop staple. Tate slunk permanent. Town shifting tides. But drama crested personal. Anthony's ex, a rail rat named Vic, surfaced via letter, heard you're hitched. Owe you for saving him from me. Enclosed photo, young Anthony, bruised lip, eyes haunted. Ryan confronted gentle, over breakfast. Vic was rough. Taught me I deserved better. Anthony's voice steady, but hand trembled on mug. Ryan kissed knuckles. You do. We all do. The share bonded deeper. Anthony opening scars. Abusive dad. Drifts masking fear. Ryan reciprocated. Farm boy isolation. Hookups chasing validation pre-Anthony. Vulnerability wove tighter. Sex evolving exploratory. Toys and talk. Trust's playground. Fall quickened Lena's belly. Cravings catered communal. Pickles and pie at midnight runs. Ryan's anxiety spiked. Paternity leave planned. But what ifs whispered. What if they face what I did? Anthony quelled it nightly. Palm to swell. We'll armor them love. Winter birthed storm lashed. Labor induced. Hospital lights harsh. Twins arrived howling. Elias, dark like Anthony, and Rowan, fair as Ryan. Caleb cut cords. Ethan snapped pics. Joy raw. Homecoming blanketed snow. Nursery aglow. Anthony cradled Elias, awestruck. Daddies, he tested. Grin cracking. Ryan nodded. Rowan nursing. Yeah. Parenting blurred days, diapers and dawn feeds. Co-op on autopilot with twins helming. Jamie stepped up. Romance budding with a market vendor. Ryan mentoring Sly. Slow. Savor. Legacy layered. Story published. Midwest queer. A triplets reckoning. Proceeds to co-op scholarships. Book tour modest. Iowa to Chicago. Anthony and babies tagging. Fans queuing for signed journals. But by kitsch-tempered triumph. Grandpa's anniversary. Grave visit under oaks. Ryan laid wildflowers. Eamon's photo tucked. We forgive, he whispered. Anthony's arm steel. But we remember. Ethan teared. Caleb's silent nod. To mending. Spring greened anew. Twins toddling dirt paths. Co-op a haven. Expanded to therapy gardens. Queer elders sharing war tales echoing Harlan's. Anthony's art bloomed. Sculptures commissioned. Rails twisted into queer icons. Intertwined lovers. Defiant fists. 1. Eamon's echo. Installed town square. Controversy brief but fierce. Petitions. Protests. Resolved by council vote. Pride swelling. Summer solstice marked twins' first birthday. Farm feast epic. Bonfires. Bands. Balloons. Vows renewed casual. Anthony and Ryan under the oak. Babies gurgling witness. Still yes, they chorused. Kiss ceiling. Fall harvested abundance. Book sequel brewing rails to roots. Caleb and Dex announced their own IVF dreams. Family sprawled. Unbreakable. Winter's hush brought reflection. Ryan, rocking Rowan by fire. Anthony with Elias asleep on chest. Worth the disowning? Anthony murmured. Ryan smiled. Locket warm. Every shattered piece. Led here. The farm endured. Not Grandpa's empire but Ryan's. Love's dominion. Human and vast. Triplets mended. Lovers entwined. Legacy not land but light. Forgiveness sown. Romance reaped. Lives unbowed. Years folded forward. But that first dawn after the trunk, key turned. Truth spilled anchored all. Ryan, once disowned, now donor to sons, to kin, to the boy in the mirror who dared burn bright. And in Anthony's arms, under Iowa stars, he knew the final gift wasn't the journal or trust, but revelation, love, the inheritance that outlasts graves.